In 7 Days to Die, there's a built-in mechanic called the heat map. It has nothing to do with thermal heat, but it measures the amount of activity within a specific chunk of the game. And that activity overall determines how many zombies are attracted to the area, and if the heat map gives high enough, it will spawn in a screamer who has a penchant for calling in all her friends for an uninvited crash party at your location. With Alpha 20 coming out, everybody's wanting to know if anything changed. And since I did a lot of videos on the heat map, I thought I would kind of retest some of those. If you're interested in finding out some more about the heat map and how it works, I'll put a link in the video description down below to my original video showing how it all works and explaining the system fully. But in this video, we're going to be testing whether torches, the main source of light most people use early on in the game, can raise the heat map enough to spawn in a screamer. So, by default, the game does not show the heat map counter. It's a built-in hidden function. But with debug mode on, you can see it over in the left-hand corner, and I'll probably blow it up on the screen so you can see it. Shows heat chunk. You can see I'm at chunk 1250, and it's at 0%. There's 0 events. Literally nothing's happened right here. So what I'm going to try to do is to see how much a torch will raise it up, if it's changed at all, and if so, will it raise it high enough to be able to spawn in a screamer, and then how many torches can you put in your house and location before you have to actually worry about that. Now, there are several items in the game: torches, candles, forges, campfires, fire barrels, things like that that raise the heat map up. Now, it goes up in what the game refers to as ticks, which is just an increment of time in the game. Every time it rolls over, it goes up just a little bit. Now, the heat will go down on its own over time, but it goes down at a slower rate at which it goes up. So, you can see right at the moment, we're just in a random house here in Navezgane, and the heat map is sitting at 0. Now, I have some torches in my toolbar, so what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to just equip one. So it's sitting here in my hand, and I'm going to see if just standing here holding a torch for a little while will cause it to go up, or if the torch has to be placed to do that, because I know a lot of people are curious to be like, well, what if I'm just using it for light and walking around? Will that raise it up? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit here for just a little bit, and we'll keep an eye on the heat level there to see if just carrying a torch, if that will raise your heat level up at all. Okay, so after 1 in-game hour, which is long enough for it to process a tick counter here, you can see the heat map did not go up at all. So just carrying around a torch does not raise the heat map at all. You're safe to carry around one as long as you want to without worrying about spawning in a screamer. So what we're going to do next is I'm just going to stick one on the wall. We'll stick it right here and see if 1 will raise it up here. If they didn't change anything, the single torch should raise it up by about 4 every time the tick count goes there. But you can see just placing it on the wall doesn't do anything. So what we'll do is just like what we did just a minute ago. I'll wait for a little bit to see how much 1 torch will raise the heat map in here, if any at all. And then we can kind of calculate how many others would. And then we'll plaster the house full of torches and see if we can get a screamer to spawn in like that. So we'll check back here in another in-game hour to see if it's gone up at all. All right, so it's been long enough here. You can see in the heat map over there that it's at 1.5%. So it seems like it's about every 25 to 30 seconds is when the new tick rate is. Now, I don't know exactly what it is. It doesn't register in-game what the tick count is, but I think it's about every 30 seconds. With 1 torch on the wall, it went up 0.5% per tick rate. And you can see over there it shows 3 events. So every time the tick calculates in the game, it sees everything that raises the event. It sees everything that raises the heat to go up as 1 event. So if we sit here and watch it, you'll see as we're talking live here that when it gets back up to about 25 to 30 seconds, that it'll jump up to 2%. Now, I don't know exactly how long the degradation level is for 1 torch. If you just leave it up here, I don't know yet, because it takes a long time to do it, if the heat will eventually go down or if it will just continue to go up. Now, keep in mind that by default, prior game versions of this would spawn the screamer in when it hit 100%. So you can see it just jumped up to 2%. So at 100%, what it would do is it would roll back to 0 and trigger the spawn screamer event. And then she had a chance to show up or not. Sometimes it was random, especially in Alpha 19 where she was kind of not really broken, but she didn't show up all the time when she was supposed to. And so sometimes she'd show up, sometimes she'd call on a friend, sometimes she wouldn't show up at all. It's like she never even got the call. So 1 torch raises it by 0.5% every time there's a tick count in the game. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and just plaster this place with about 25 torches just to see if it goes up the same amount every time or if it goes up based on how many torches are there, because that's going to be kind of useful too. Now, of course, you're not going to need this many torches in one specific location in your house. And also keep in mind, this is for one chunk. As I'm moving around the house, you'll see that number over there change where it says 1252. You know, as I'm moving through the house, I'll be walking into different chunks because a chunk is only 16 blocks by 16. So see, I'm there 1352, and as I move back closer to the first part of the house, I'm at 1251. Those are just the chunk numbers around there. So the heat is registered in each individual chunk, but it will bleed over to surrounding chunks too. So I know that's a little bit confusing if you're not sure what a chunk is, but basically just picture this is one block by one block. A chunk is 16 blocks by 16 blocks. So what I'm doing is just kind of throwing these all over the place just to get as much heat as possible. Do keep in mind, if for some reason you feel like just over inundating your house with torches, that they do cause some frame drops. You can see mine's kind of skitching around a little bit here. And we have what I should be about 25 torches up. It's really bright. It's probably going to be a little bit hard to see the actual heat map counter over on the side, even if I blow it up, just because it's so bright in here. And see, I'll turn my headlamp off because it doesn't even need to have that little bit of extra. See if I can get it like right there's a little bit dark. Okay, so it's at 11% right now. I'm going to let it sit here for just a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up. See, it went from 11 to 16%. So I'm going to open up the debug menu and I'm going to let it sit here. And this is where we'll be able to see if it passes 100%. If it will go through and trigger a screamer. So I'm going to sit here and just let it churn for a little bit, and when it gets close to 100%, then I'll check back and see if it actually spawned a screamer in or not. So we'll be back in just a minute. While we're waiting, you can see that my frame rate has dropped down into the 30s because I added about another 20 torches just to get the number to go up a little bit faster, because I'm checking to see if torches will cause it to spawn. And we know having 25 in here eventually will get it up that high, so I tried to ramp it up. But you can see the heat chunk indicator now is kind of a yellowish color, letting you know that, hey, by the way, things are getting a little bit on the high side. It's no longer green, so no longer safe. You're getting into the, hey, by the way, bad things are going to happen sort of thing. So we'll be back again when it gets back up to 100 and see if it spawns one in. All right, you can see it's turned red. We're at 98%. It's registered 196 events, which is the number of torches I have times the number of tick rate there is there. And you can see in the indicator up there that either an animal rabbit or a chicken fell off the world. I don't know what that specifically means, but poor animal just tumbled off into the abyss. So we're at 98%. Next tick rate, it should go ahead and roll back over to 0, and we should see if there's a a screamer spawned in, and if so, we'll see if we can go find her and see where it kind of spawned her in at, and then you'll know for certain if torches will spawn one in or not. So we're almost there, should roll over pretty much any time, and there we have it. Okay, so rolled back over, and it rolled to 6%. So I'm checking in the inventory or the item list here of everything that's been going on, and I don't see a spawn indicator for the screamer. Let me see if it put one on the map here anywhere. Okay, I turned on debug mode information. All right, so there's a rabbit. Okay, so it didn't spawn one in that time. Okay, turn off that indicator and stuff real quick. Okay. We'll give it a fair shake and stuff. I'll let it kind of wrap back around again to see if it will do anything or not. So we'll just check back in when it gets close to rolling back over one more time and see if it does anything then. All right, we're closing in on it rolling over, and there it goes. Let's see. All right, Scout Horde spawned. It's a zombie screamer. Did actually spawn in, and she's moving to my point of interest. Okay, so there we have it confirmed that your torches can spawn in a screamer. Let's see if we can go find her real quick and see what she looks like. Okay, so she didn't spawn in too far from the house. I just wanted to see where she's at. She hasn't called in any of her friends yet. She won't call her friends in until you hear her actually scream. But there she is. Hey, what's up, girl? All right, so okay, so she did. She spawned in her own friends. Let's see where it put them. All right, we got Mo back over there. We got Yo up there. We got a rabbit that she didn't spawn in. There's a group right over that way. Okay, there we have it. I'll go ahead and stop her in her tracks real quick. There we have it. Absolutely confirmed that torches still work the way they always did, in the fact that they will cause a screamer to spawn in sometimes. Now, we got one event that didn't happen and one event where it did. So it can happen. It may not happen every single time. So do keep that in mind. But if you decide to load your house down with this many torches, just be prepared to have some screamers show up with all of our friends. So there you have it. If you have any other questions regarding the heat map or any other things you want me to test out like that, drop it in the comments down below and I'll add it to my testing list. It's kind of what I do on this channel a lot of the times. If you found the video useful, do me a favor and leave a like on it. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe if you're not already so you don't miss out on future videos. In the meantime, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.